Oh, hey there. So this last week, everybody dealt with their taxes. I dealt with mine 4 months ago. And my entire life, I've heard people say, rich people need to get taxed more. Let's just think this through for a second, okay? Let's say that a person is a sole proprietor, which means they're a small business owner, okay? So they're not a corporation, they're not some big thing. They just own like a small business, service industry, maybe a small restaurant, whatever in the world it may be. And they're struggling to make it, okay? And I know because I've been doing this for a very long time, and I know a lot of people that are doing the same thing. Now, let's say they make $1 million or a couple $1,000,000 a year, and you're like, that's a lot of money. Let's think this through, okay? First of all, they are lucky if they're making 10 or 20% profit net, okay? So out of $1 million, they maybe make 100,000, but they don't really make $100,000, okay? Because there's a whole lot of expenses that go into that. And even if they do make $100,000, good for them. They deserve it. There's a bunch of people that are working for somebody else making $100,000. And this person has sacrificed and paid for all kinds of things and grown a business and taken the risk. And if they make $100,000, good for them. Now, you're like, well, they should pay taxes. First of all, they are paying taxes, okay? Here's what I'm saying. If they spent $900,000 out of $1 million, then they paid taxes already. They paid taxes, sales tax at least. Let's just say 8% sales tax, okay? On $900,000 is what? $72,000 that they paid in sales tax already? That's a chunk of money, okay? All their gas tax is outrageous. It's something that nobody ever talks about, but it's almost half of what you're paying for gas. So let's say that you have a small business and you have several cars, you do maybe 100,000 miles a year or something like that. You're spending a lot of money on gas, and half that money is on gas tax. That's what pays for the roads. So if you're like, oh, I wonder what's paying for the roads, that's what's paying for the roads. Now, they probably own property, okay? Their home, maybe they have rental properties, maybe they have a mortgage on their business or whatever. They're having to pay property tax. That's a lot of money. I mean, I think I pay $25,000, $35,000 a year in property tax alone, okay? Because I buy and sell houses, so it always kind of lands that I end up having to pay more than my fair share. Property tax is supposed to go to schools. Let me just go ahead and tell you that in my life, I've never had children that went to a school where I paid property tax. But it doesn't stop me from paying $25,000, $35,000 a year in property tax, sometimes more, okay? We could go through a long laundry list of all the other taxes that we have to pay, all the fees that we have to pay, building permits. Building permits on our house are $10,000 or $12,000 per house for inexpensive, just a standard anything lot. In Kennedale, where I'm subdividing, I had to pay $289,000 for impact fees. That's what I'm paying, right? And then after you pay all this stuff and all these fees and all these taxes and all these permits and all these licenses, at the end of that, then there's people that are putting in minimal effort going, you need to pay more tax. And you're over here like, bro, I'm paying more in tax than you and your family and your friends make in a year. So don't tell me that I'm not paying my fair share, okay? Because we are. As business owners, trust me, we are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in tax, all kinds of tax. By the time it comes down to income tax, everybody's like, yeah, I mean, I got write-offs. And so, yeah, I'm not going to pay as much in income tax because I already paid it in other stuff. Now, let me explain to you what write-offs means, okay? Because I think a lot of people don't understand this because you're all W-2. And so what I mean by that is somebody takes taxes out, and then you get a part of that back at the end of the year. And you're like, look at this, the government gave me money. And you're like, well, they didn't, okay? The government gave you some of your money back. That's all. And mostly it's because you're poor. And if you're really poor, then you don't pay anything in and you get whatever it is. If you have kids, $6,000 or $7,000, whatever dollars a year, and you go, woohoo, we're going to buy stuff. Now, a tax write-off means this. Let's say that you own a McDonald's franchise restaurant, okay? And let's say that you spend, I don't know, it's the same scenario. You make $1 million a year, but you spend $900,000 a year. Now, if you make $1 million a year, then you're in the 50% tax bracket, roughly, okay? So that means you would pay $500,000 in tax. That's a lot of tax, but you have $900,000 in expenses. So should you pay $500,000 in tax when you only made $100,000? Of course not. It doesn't even make sense. So write-offs means you've got $1 million gross and you have $900,000 in expenses, which means that you pay tax on $100,000. Okay, that doesn't mean that the government gives you money. It means that the $100,000 that's left over, you pay 30 to 50, whatever it is, percent, probably closer to 30% at that level, of that money. So you're gonna pay $33,000 in tax after all the other tax that you paid. Okay, that's what you're gonna pay. Now, of course, if you're a business owner, you're like, how do I get my expenses up as high as possible so that I can pay as little amount of tax as possible? Because if we have the option of like, hey, I can buy a new truck or new equipment or something I need for my business that costs that amount of money, or just give it to the government and they can throw it away and spend it on gender studies in Afghanistan, of course we're gonna buy something that we need for our business because that's just good business. I mean, we're not stupid. And the government incentivizes business owners to buy more things. Now, here's why, okay? There are a smaller number of people that are spending a larger amount of money. I like to call those people rainmakers, okay? They have the choice, because we have freedom in America, they have the choice to go, I can hold on to my money or I can spend my money. And the government goes, you should spend your money. Okay, because if you spend your money, you don't have to pay as much tax on it, which is a slippery slope. Nevertheless, if you hold on to your money, if all these people hold on to their money, the way the economy works is this. There's the same amount of money, relatively speaking, at any given time. But if money is being spent, then it's being circulated, and so that's a good economy. People feel comfortable spending money because they know there's gonna be more money behind that. If people are holding on to their money, then it's a bad economy because money is not being spent, things are not getting done, everybody's hiding in their houses away in bunkers or whatever, and so the money's not getting spent. And that is a bad economy, okay? So the government wants, and really we all want, the people with money to spend more money. We want them to have businesses, we want them to have factories, we want them to grow things, we want them to do industrious things, we want them to do research. We want that, okay? And if the government is just taking, and there's no incentive to actually make some money from your money, then why would you spend it? If they're just all up in your business and just, they got their hand out every time you turn around, then why would you spend your money? Just hold on to it and sit there. And you're rich, so why would you care if anybody else gets their fair share? If everybody else just has their hand out all the time, then why would you even care? So what I'm saying is this. It's not that the rich need to be taxed more. It's that all of us need to be taxed less, okay? The government wastes money. They continually waste money. They are inefficient. There's this chart that shows you, like, if I have personal ownership and it's my money and I benefit from this, I will be wise with my money, okay? That's an individual. And there's several different blocks. And one of them is, if it's not your money and you get no personal benefit from it, then why would you care? It's just a job. And that's where the government sits, okay? So they're just inefficient with absolutely everything. And then we sit around going, well, we're not getting enough stuff, so we should tax the rich more. And you're like, that's not it. We should get the government not involved. Here's what the government should do, in my opinion, okay? Protect our borders. Congratulations, we're doing that-ish. Regulate our money. Make sure that it's has value, that we have an agreed upon lie that everybody goes, that piece of paper is worth $100 or whatever it may be. Get our roads and our infrastructure done, and for the most part, leave us alone, okay? We don't need you involved in whether or not my grass is 12 inches tall in my yard. Like, we can deal with that ourselves, right? So my suggestion is this: less government, even less government, almost no government. What's the bare bones amount of government? And then we can all relax a little bit and actually enjoy the money that we've worked so hard for. That's my opinion. Love you guys.